Okay, just a quick question. Does anyone know what InnerSource is? And okay, what is it?
It's buying open source techniques to companies.
Exactly. So thank you. So yeah, this is what we are talking about, actually how to actually improve collaboration in enterprises. Who works for a company which you would call an enterprise or maybe a bloody enterprise? Some. We are not recording the room, so it should be fine. Yeah, my name is Oleg Nenashev. Yeah, I'm a community builder. And today it's a talk about AI hype, but it's not a talk about AI. I still have some slides, etc. We are happy to talk afterwards. And yeah, I'm representing only myself here, and any resemblance to any company is purely coincidental. So let's begin. My slides are already uploaded, so if you want to follow, if you want to return, just take a QR code. Yeah, I have quite a lot of slides as always, but I will try to be fast. Okay, I build communities, mostly in developer tooling space. You might have seen some logos, just in case, sorry. So I started from Jenkins. Everyone here should have used Jenkins at least once. But I also work on test containers, open feature. Actually worked on Captain. So if you use CRTOps, for example, for some time it used to include Captain. It doesn't longer do it, right? Okay. So yeah, there is a lot of projects. And I come from Neuchâtel. So Neuchâtel, yeah, it's basically French-speaking a place with German history, but we have Italian flag with big plus. So it's truly international, like it happens in Switzerland. And yeah, I do not speak Italian, unfortunately, but I got to practice a bit. So yes, happy to chat later, or in French if you want. Okay, let's talk about you. Have you already adopted DevOps in your company? Who did adopt it? Let's try again. Yeah, that's a problem with DevOps because everyone understands it differently. I prefer to use this definition. So basically, DevOps is everything that improves collaboration, gets rid of silos, and actually helps you to deliver faster. So whether it's CD pipeline, whether it's getting rid of yet another meeting, for me, it's DevOps. One of the important aspects for DevOps is actually developer productivity and developer experience. Raise your hand if you regularly improve your own productivity in the company. Looks like it's at the end. But let's try a few there. How about your team's productivity? And company's productivity? So for the rest, are you sure you're doing DevOps? Yeah, that's a problem with definition because DevOps is often a part of the culture. And if you have read the Unicorn project, is the second book after the Phoenix project, is actually more focused on the culture. And there is one aspect there, the rebellion. So the rebellion is basically a group of people who unite and collaborate to deliver faster. They come from different departments, including marketing, project operations, etc. And this is actually what DevOps and cross-team and cross-functional collaboration is about. And InnerSource is a part of this culture. So as it was said, it's basically bringing in open source principles into your company and your culture. And I have a few tips how to adopt it. For HR reasons, I won't be saying the rebellion anymore. So it's called DevOps and DevX community, or just whatever developer productivity improvement program inside your company. But yeah, just for the note. It can have different forms. Who does have a Slack channel related to developer productivity? So some of the companies started. Or you might have a whole automation guild, DevOps guild, developer productivity guild. You might have a community of practice, interest group inside your company. And all of that is actually an internal community. So I started my work in open source, But actually, most of experience before going to open source, I got from these groups. I started at Intel, Synopsys, hardware companies that actually had quite established learning and knowledge sharing practices. So they were doing some bits of inner source before inner source was even a thing. And this is actually how you could approach it too. So sometimes there are groups, discussions, and it allows to improve local collaboration and productivity. So what open source is and what the open source culture is of course about community, collaboration, contributions, sometimes drama, licenses, reuse, approvals. What is open source for you? Is anything important missing here? For anyone? No? Yeah, it's quite good. Yeah, I just asked ChatGPT to draw a word map based on what it knows. So it's a little bit corporate because it has things like governance, etc. But actually, it's how open source is defined. It's quite good. And yeah, inner source is extension of open source and application of it to company practices. So like GitLab defines it, a software development strategy which helps companies to adopt practices to collaborate more efficiently. So basically, inner source is a part of the culture that helps you to collaborate. And if you take another buzzword, let's say agile, developer experience, productivity, shifting left, any other marketing term or invented marketing term by companies, all of it boils down to some bits of the culture. So I prefer a quite different term because software development strategy assumes that you do software development, but you can do the same with design, you can do the same with marketing, with all other activities in the company. So basically, inner source is strategy, culture, practices, tools that help you to improve collaboration. And here, again, the difference from DevOps is quite marginal. Of course, there are some foundations created around inner source. So there is Inner Source Commons Foundation, which is a good source of information. So it's basically inner source, but on the inter-company level. So companies join and share their expertise in inner source practices. And there is quite a lot of them, case studies. There are also inner source patterns that address particular cases. So for example, how to organize licensing inside your team, how basically to facilitate reviews, meetings. So there is a lot of different practices. Many of them are applied implicitly in the companies, and you can find a lot of information on this site. And what I really like, that there are learning passes for common roles. So again, whether you're project manager or just people manager, contributor, you can find something about open source for you. So this way you can find all the information. And let's talk about the details. So it's great to have collaboration, but if you work in an enterprise company, you know that it's not that straightforward sometimes. So there might be quite a lot of cultural resistance to any kind of change. There is a lot of red tape, processes, there are decision makers somewhere on the top, approvals, a lot of politics, of course. And often you can do little without executive support. And executive support is hard to gain for anything that is not on the hype, and still it's a kind of ADHD mode. The priority switches quite a lot. So this is what I saw in my enterprises in the past, and I'm pretty much sure that this happens for others. So what companies want, as they say? They want to attract talent, they want to improve productivity, save costs, achieve efficiency, have security, compliance, quality, delivery speed. All of that, of course, goes to having more money, but this is what they say when they are surveyed. So it's basically one of the surveys performed, I believe, by JetBrains too. Okay, and if you want to operate in this environment, if you want to change culture in this environment, there are two approaches. So one approach is community builder or community beaver, and another one, let's talk about it later. So if you're a community beaver, you follow the rules, you approach it, you should have a lot of patience, but you can slowly change organization by making proposals, talking to people, getting budgets, getting approvals, waiting for eternity for some things, and eventually you can get it done. So this is what many people do, and of course there is a lot of uphill battles on this path. And for many people, change should happen fast to see the result. And if you don't see the result, then basically the program gets canceled. So this approach is a little bit problematic if we talk about real company. And there is another approach. Instead of following the rules, you can find a bypass. Again, it's an HR-friendly slide, so it's not going rogue inside the company, it's just following the rules, but finding some loopholes, supports to actually avoid the things. In marketing, we have a term, guerrilla marketing. So this term is basically inventing something unique out thinking out of the box to break common information bubbles of people and make them to hear you and to adopt your product. So basically, it can be applied to DevRel, it can be applied to InnerSource inside your company too. And there are ways to do that, again, without breaking company rules. So what would people normally do? I saw that a lot in different companies. If you want to change a culture, you cannot sell change in culture to your manager, right? Or to manager of your manager. What you can sell probably is developer productivity. Because again, developer productivity and velocity, it clearly ties to money, to gains that can be justified, in theory. The problem is that it's hard to track developer productivity. Who does have any metrics for developer productivity? Yeah, and that's the problem with this approach. You are selling something, basically hand-waving, without being able to prove the result. And the data is quite harsh on that. So there is JetBrains ecosystem report, and 40% of people say honestly that they don't have any measurement of performance. But even the rest 60%, they're quite interesting because the data shows that 67% this is measured by the team leads. So exactly the people who have zero interest in having negative metrics on developer productivity velocity. And 13% is measured by HR. So this is something interesting, but yeah, let's keep it. Okay, and even if somebody measures something, it's mostly about code productivity metrics. So time to merge, CI, speed, maybe amount of time that actually takes to integrate something, time to recovery, and other common metrics. But none of that is really represents developer productivity at scale. Because normally, yeah, you spend maybe 30% of your time writing code. And it's actually a very good number in many enterprises because you might be spending 50% time of the meetings. And this is not measured by these metrics. And this is why this approach doesn't quite work. So you can try, but it means you will have to build your tools, you will have to build metrics, you will need to prove them, and you will need to convince everyone in the company that they're doing it wrong. So good luck. It can work, but yeah, it's an uphill battle. At the same time, in 2025, there is another loophole. Any guesses? Yeah, AI. So basically, everyone does AI, and everyone sells that AI is a great tool for developer productivity, right? And Guerilla could be quite successful with driving culture change, basically sold as productivity improvement and AI. Because everyone wants AI these days. This is practically the only thing you can secure budget for. And this is what all vendors try to leverage. So basically, you can do the same in your company. Why not? You can improve productivity, and it can really help. At the same time, I'm definitely AI skeptic. How we are doing with timing now? We're still okay-ish. No, I was just checking timing. So yeah, just some reality check. There is a lot of recent reports on AI productivity, and you might have heard that the data is not very conclusive whether AI helps or not. So a year ago, everyone was talking about generative AI, generating code with different services, but now the things change. So the recent reality is that AI definitely helps with onboarding and with analyzing things. So if you're a newcomer, you can use AI to access documentation, comprehend the code, process stack traces, etc. So it really helps with onboarding, and that's quite confirmed. It also helps with documentation quality, code quality somewhat, helps to speed up reviews. So this is why people use it and we're successful. Yeah. The problem is code complexity, technical debt. The estimation is net negative as of now. Personally, I think that it's just temporary because the tools still need to evolve and they're not perfect at the moment. And it will eventually happen. But still, we reached the point when people started basically suffering with AI and seeing that all the investment basically brings nothing. Of course, because if you provide tools without changing the culture, you won't have any measurable result. And generative AI, static data, etc., they're already on the downward slope. So if you hear anyone talking about generative AI strategy these days, there are two groups. One, they look for sustainable growth because in a year or so we will have new tools and sustainable practices for using these tools, like, for example, compilation of documentation. I mean, processing, summarizing, etc., and we have a lot of that. Or maybe they're just too late to the market. So things happen. And I would just talk about AI assisted development these days. So be sure engineers will be rehired. At least I hope so, because I'm on the market too. And of course, for delivery, etc., all the current measurements are negative, but it might change. So this is the reality. And many adoption problems actually come from the lack of culture, lack of basically support from organization for adopting anything new. I know organizations that are still yet to review using Gemini, ChatGPT next year, maybe. And unfortunately, it's a case for many enterprises. Of course, code assistants, coding agents, they're all in the future for these organizations. There is security, etc. So the adoption is really slow. And this is what the reality. And even for organizations that are front runners among adopters, the estimation for productivity gains is about 10% at the moment. So basically, all this fuss doesn't really map to real performance and productivity gains yet. So this is the AI. And when I am talking about AI and leveraging it, I'm not selling you just AI. You need to remember that culture, approaches, communication, they will outweigh non-AI factor. If you release your team from unnecessary meetings, emails, communications, approval waiting, you will be much more efficient than with introducing a new AI tool at the moment. And this is basically a formula that you should approach these days if you want to drive the culture. You sell AI, really keeping in mind and AI-assisted productivity with gradual culture change. So this is basically what changes developer experience and productivity in 2025, in my opinion. Who is doing something like that as of now? Probably you should try. But yeah, this is what I'm trying to do, at least as my consulting practice at the moment. Okay, let's imagine you convince your boss that you need developer productivity, that you need some collaboration. You get assigned maybe 4 hours a week to drive whatever initiative. What you do about it? So first of all, there is a lot of getting started guidelines. So I'm not communicating anything new here, but you can check them out. What I want to say that basically you cannot build a community alone. You definitely need to find other people who are at least interested in that. So let's say engineer who is frustrated because their developer tool isn't fast, or because you're just not having a standard approach to CI, etc. People who actually want to improve something, who become your champions inside the company. This is with whom you should connect. And once you find a few people like that, you establish communication channels. And it can be just merely a Slack channel somewhere in your workspace. Maybe you use Discord for your company or another tool, but just a small communication channel. Later, if it grows, you can have regular meetings, some governance, charters, documentation portal, maybe some backstage integration, etc. But start just from communication. And keep it growing, because there is a lot of people who suffer from productivity. And this is one area where CI developer tools are key, because everyone wants better developer tools. if you use a developer tool and do not hate it, then probably you wrote it on your own, right? Or maybe not. But this is a great area for all kinds of inner source. And you can collaborate with other engineers to improve something, create something, or just utifying. So, for example, if you're a Java developer or Kubernetes developer and have many Helm charts written by somebody, you can just introduce a templating mechanism and standards for your organization, or maybe standard images that help to develop the things. And this is why people can cooperate quite easily. Another thing, my advice is build relationships, and not just with engineers, but with other people, because you definitely need IT people to succeed, you definitely need operations, and many other people who would be interested in changes and who can, again, help you. So you cannot succeed just as an engineer. The rebellion doesn't work this way. You need more people from different departments and gradually connect them. And yeah, these people are not enemies, and even corporate isn't your enemy. Maybe you have a team that verifies the processes, security, compliance. All of them could be a leverage for achieving your goals if you communicate properly. Because otherwise, you are screwed. So don't make enemies, don't burn bridges until it's too late. Another tip for you, if you reach this stage, if you have some operating organization, if you want to really adopt an source, you need to start influencing other people. And the best people to influence are newcomers, either just junior engineers, interns who join the company, or people who come from outside, who have their own vision and experience. These are more open to change. They are not yet overloaded by side assignments, by corporate policy. So these are the people to be dragged first into your group and your influence circles. And you can leverage your experience, deliver talks, either public, private. If you go public, of course, you can get some support from marketing for sharing these stories, because again, it helps to justify some changes. It helps to grow your influence, which is quite important. Because in the end, even with guerrilla approach, eventually you need to show the value, because you will be spending more and more time on this effort instead of just writing code, doing other job. You will need to prove that the approaches work. There is a lot of keywords for your KPIs, for example. Developer productivity, shift left, efficiency, time to market, some dollar metrics, and all of that can be a part of your KPI if you need a KPIs in a corporation. So let's wrap up. Okay, building internal community is important. Culture change is always slow in enterprises, but it's something that you can do with proper approach. And proper approach means not always following the rules, finding some loopholes and opportunities to actually achieve your goal and to save a few time. So when you build it, find contacts in engineering and other departments, think open source, and think about collaboration every time when it's possible. And don't go alone. There is a lot of other people. It's, of course, great for you. There is a lot of leadership practice, network building, etc. So if you approach inner source, if you succeed with a growing collaborative environment, it actually builds your network inside the company and grows your influence too. So it's a good thing if you want to become a leader. And never trust the t-shirts. Nobody really is born to open source. It's something that grows in you, either when in open source or in corporate collaborations, because it's a skill that can be learned. It's a mindset that can be adopted and that can be adjusted to your own company's practice. And always balance the approaches. You don't want to always break the rules. Sometimes you need patience. And sometimes you definitely need to find ways around because the processes are too difficult in the enterprise sometimes. By breaking processes, do not get fired first. That happens too. Or do not burn out. It happens more often. And one thing to keep in mind that sometimes the company cannot be changed. And eventually you face a choice of change the company or change company, and it's totally normal. And many people moved on and have been quite fun with their next steps. So there is a lot of resources. I recommend starting from InnerSource Commons. And if you just want one first step, how to start in InnerSource and collaboration, find a productivity or DevX group in your organization. I saw so few hands But I'm pretty sure that you have these channels in the organizations. It just takes some time to find them. And if it doesn't exist, consider starting a new one. So that's it. Any questions?
Oh, first of all, thank you, Oleg.
Yeah.
Big applause.
Thank you, Tom.
It was really interesting when we found your submission about inner sourcing. I never heard about the inner sourcing so well, like you did today.
But
So thank you so much, at least for me.
just think DevOps and culture collaboration, and you don't need extra terms.
Okay.